Voices of Tomorrow, a program or a podcast brought to you by the Rights of the Child Commission. Here I am with guest Mr. Ron Albert, who is the Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at the Rights of the Child Commission. So, Mr. Albert, could you please tell us a little about your role and how important your role is to the protection and the promotion of children's rights?
So thank you for that, Shini. Like you said, my name is Ron Albert, and I I'm not only the monitoring and evaluation officer. I'm also the researcher. So M&E, as you would say, in short for monitoring and evaluation officer. Um, M&E is critical to the programs any organization or an agency is doing. It measure the effectiveness, the efficiency of the programs it's engaging in or implementing. My role here at the Commission, at Rights of the Child Commission, is very important, and we want to measure the things that the Commission is doing, its program, and in keeping with its constitutional function enshrined under Article 212 V of the Constitution, in particular, function C and F, which states or stipulates rather the monitoring and evaluating policies that are being implemented in the promotion and protection of children in Guyana. What we're doing at the Rights of the Child Commission is we have several programs that we're engaging for 2026. One of which is engaging the local government organ, the RDC, and that is to help them be more proactive in safeguarding and protecting children rights. Um, we also are engaging the parent, the PTA, the Parent Teachers Association body, and try to have parents more involved in protecting children rights, protecting their children rights, and what role RCC plays. And we have a lot of programs that we're trying to enhance and have children rights materialize are being um, safeguarded in the country. Um, and that is about it. And my role here is to measure the impact of our program and ensure that what the commission is set out to do actually happens and have a positive outcome in terms of safeguarding children rights in Guyana.
Okay, you mentioned quite a lot about programs, and you even referenced some of your programs. If I could recall, I think you guys, the Rights of the Child Commission, signed an MOU with the Guyana Football Federation, as in collaboration with the Juvenile Justice Center. Could you tell me a little more about that program and also emphasize how effective these programs are in shaping or promoting the rights of these children?
Yes, we had recently signed an MOU with GFF. Um, we see GFF as a very important partner. Reason being, sports is one of the most engaging activity for children, and in it's stipulated or enshrined in the UNCRC, the United Nations um, Rights of a Child Convention. The children have a right to play, and we see sports as a effective and very impactful measure of engaging children. Matter of fact, we have a mentorship program that we recently implemented to engage boys at the level of grade 7 and 8. Every Fridays, the president would have alluded or stated that every Fridays will be strictly PE or children to engage in physical activities rather, and extracurricular activities. And we saw that as an opportunity by the president for us now to um, enhance that initiative, or you know, to help get the the task in terms of promoting and safeguarding children's rights done through that means. So what we do is engage the boys from grade 7 and grade 8 in a football program. We measure this program by discipline. So the most disruptive students, we try to get them to cultivate discipline, self-discipline, and have to learn to cultivate the self-respect. And we have seen some changes, right? It's quite effective, but it's a work in progress, and we have our timeline in which we'll measure those behavior change.
You mentioned that you've seen changes. Now, my question is, as a monitoring evaluation officer and a researcher, what are some key indicators that would point that these children are improving in whether it's their academics or with their football, through the football?
So some basic indicators that would give that positive um, response is one, their attendance records is up, and their time in terms of being time in each session in class, you know, and also their grades, their academic performance, it's improving. So in a nutshell, total behavior change. What they were engaged in, gangs, and we find gangs to be a very concerning thing for us, and we're trying to work around with programs like the mentorship program through football to reduce crimes among our teenage and children. All right. So one of the key indicators is attendance and self-discipline. So also, Shani, we with the boys mentorship program, um, it started off with the boys, but the schools are now asking if we can include girls. So, as you know, Rights to the Child, the Commission is not an implementing body, but rather an oversight or a monitoring body. So this is just something that we initiate, and based on its effectiveness, we trust and hope that the government or the relevant body who can implement this program um, for are included in their long-term strategy. So, and that is something we should note. The commission is not an implementing body, but we're trying to initiate programs that we think can bring about positive change and bring about the effective implementation of border protection and safeguarding um,
Of children.
children's rights. The end goal is to improve their academic performance and try to get some positive behavior change. So our programs to also capture data. We have various subcommittees that deals with different areas of the work plan. So one of we have some tools that we use to capture data, and with that data now, we look for pattern or a trend line rather with that data. And if we see like there's a spike, as I mentioned earlier, there's a concern in the rise of gangs among children. And we now use that data now to um, initiate programs to help tackle those issues based on the trend line or the pattern rather. Given that rights to the child have a very important role in promoting and safeguarding children's rights in Guyana.
Okay. You mentioned about the increase in gangs. If you notice the reports are increasing, what does that tell you? Is it that we have more gangs, or is it just that more reports about these gangs are being made?
I I think both. I think both. Gangs always exist in various in any societies. There's always gangs, and Guyana is no different from or being excluded from gangs. But it has become a prevalent issue, especially among our youths. And I think one of the reasons why they're gravitating towards gang is I guess they are looking for
Belonging.
belonging, a sense of belonging, or trying to be part of a community. So right, so our programs now will have to be suited in terms of tackling, having a part of, giving them including children in a large or a wider space. And I think you guys know of our Child Rights Ambassador program, where we give opportunity to youths and to so that their voice can be heard on various platforms on different levels. So those are things that we engage in also. And um, to add, the data that we receive through our complaint mechanism and through our investigation, some common issues. With my role, I initiate research into the gaps that are existing in the system, right? That what challenge exists and how can we address those gaps and challenges, right? As you know, the commission have a constitutional mandate to report to the parliament, which is the legislative arm, with recommendations on the challenges that we would have observed or would have noticed in society or in Guyana, to be frank.
Okay, so with the increasing in technology, I know that people can go on their phones, right? I'm sure you have a website where people can go and make complaints, or even pick up a phone to call and make a complaint. But not every community is privileged to do that. So what about the rural areas, um, where indigenous people might not have access to these resources to file complaints? How does the commission reach these people?
So that is a good point, and we try to do as much outreach to far flung areas, especially hinterland areas and rural areas, and access to information for those communities is a challenging thing, and we try as much um, to have a partnership per se, or a working relationship with the village council, the Ministry of Women Affairs. We have our sister commission, one of the rights commission, the Indigenous Peoples Commission, who which does a lot of outreach and training and so on in these communities. So we try to get our information out there, and we see um, partnering with the RCC is very, very important, critical at the local level. They would have councillors from different various backgrounds, from different constituencies, that would be in the ground and would have first-hand information. And that is what we're working on, to have eyes and ears on the ground, right? More or less through the local organs, the local authority. And it's a work in progress, and there's a lot need to be done, especially for the hinterland and rural communities. They're the ones that need the most assistance, given the issues and challenges they're facing in their community regarding child rights. So we're engaging with our partners on the ground, stakeholders, and other members.
You mentioned some very important words that stood out to me: access to information. Why is access to information important, and how does that influence change or the trends?
So you have access to information should be something that everyone should be able to have. Because if if you have information on your rights, you know what your rights entail, um, and among other key information, you'll be able to make decisions surrounding your life. Um, a better decision, you would be able to use that information to protect your rights. You'll be able to use that information to promote your rights and do a lot more with those information. And as I mentioned earlier, these communities they have a lot of challenges due to the lack of access to information. So that is something RCC is working on through various programs and initiatives.
Thank you for delving deep into that. I think that it is very important because if you don't have the information, you might not know what steps to take. For example, if you don't know about the complaint mechanism, how will you know who to report to? So I definitely agree that that is absolutely important.
Yes, and another thing, if I should mention, some of these complaints are they have these other NGOs exist or existing bodies that work in the same field or would more or less intertwine with child rights and human rights in general. You find those complaints or concerns meeting a higher level without exhausting the local level. So there's a system established to target these issues or to resolve these issues. The local government, RDC, and the ministry. But due to the lack of information, like we just spoke, it is difficult for them to have to go through the right channel and to have to go to a higher body to have that resolve. Right. So access to information is very, very much important. So you can exhaust all the relevant mechanism or the relevant or engage all the relevant agencies that were established to tackle these particular issues. So
staying on the topic of access to information, Mike, I would like to, I'm curious actually to know access to information is important as we mentioned, but how does the Rights of the Child Commission ensure that the information collected is accurate and reliable? Let's say, for example, you receive a complaint, let's say a child abuse complaint. How would the commission be aware that if this complaint is truth
yes,
or
authentic.
authentic? Yes.
We have an investigative arm, investigative committee, which is headed by a few commissioners that are specialized in social work, and um, we have an investigative officer also. So we would um, do a fact-finding mission, which is to gather the facts, either from the perpetrator, and the victim, and all people who were involved, and ensure that if it's something new or that recently occurred, or Guyanese would like to say fresh, we gather the facts and we direct them in the right channel, and we ensure that they benefit from the system that was established, that is established to remedy or resolve these cases. So we would engage our partners like the Child Protection Agency, and if it's within the school premises, we engage the Ministry of Education and all parties involved. And what we do is monitor it from there to ensure that they're in compliance with the laws and all the necessary measures that is set out to protect children in Guyana.
Um, given again, given your role in data collecting, how do you ensure that children's voices are also represented in your analysis on and findings, and they're not just data?
So, um, good point there, Shani. We we are driven by data, but we don't only want to have data. So we use that information now to do a, what you call a theory of change. We want to see a change of behavior. We want to see a behavioral change, in a positive way, of course. And we use that information to implement or initiate programs that are best suited for the children, and at least give them that space and the opportunity to have their voices heard. And we also create programs that would tackle the issue that are being faced by these children, and how they can also encourage other children to join the space that is created for them, and to execute program in safeguarding their rights. Um, After all, it's their rights, and they are better represented by youths, not the commission. The commission makes that space for them. Right, so we ensure that they have the opportunity.
Okay, that's wonderful. So you're not just being the voice for them, but you're also giving them the resources they need, like knowledge on the UNCRC, the United Nations Convention on Rights of the Child, so that they can be ambassadors for themselves,
That's
for their
correct.
own rights, and championing their own rights. In closing, how do you feel about your role as a monitoring and evaluation officer in the Rights of the Child Commission and its impact for children in Guyana?
So my I feel there's much to be done here, and coming from an indigenous background, growing up in the hinterland, um, there's a disadvantage in regards to accessing information and having your voice being heard. So my role here is, it's very important, um, giving that opportunity to every giving that opportunity and space to every child in Guyana, especially those who are in the far-flung area, and who does not have access or much access to information, and hoping that they too can help bring about change in a collective effort. Thank you.
And there you have it, guys. Mr. Ron Albert, the Monitoring and Evaluating Officer of the Rights of the Child Commission, who shared with us the importance of his role and the impact it has on protecting and promoting the rights of children. Thank you for listening to our podcast, Voices of Tomorrow, and I will be looking forward to see you on our next episode. Ensure to follow us on our social media platforms to stay tuned. Thank you.